Cornell,
right.
It's Tony Say. Thank you for being here. I want to go back to stop and frisk. And by the way, there's a word in between there, stop, question, and frisk. And that was enforced for 20 years in New York, where I've lived most of, if not all my life here, a couple of years going to college. And in that 20 years, you've had 2 mayors, bipartisan, 4 commissioners, police commissioners, all keep this policy, making New York in those 20 years the safest big city in America. Furthermore, when you do look at the crime statistics, it actually made safer the most highly vulnerable neighborhoods in the city to crime, which largely were African-American and minority communities in this city, made safer by stop and frisk, stop, question, and frisk. How could you deny, at the very least, when the front page of the New York Times, just yesterday, the New York Times, said that we have murder rates spiking in this country, the highest since the 1960s, in St. Louis, in Milwaukee, in Baltimore, in cities across this entire country? How can you take away tools to reduce those crimes and make people, particularly those in African-American communities, safe?
Well, let's be clear about the facts. The fact is that the crime rate in New York is low. The crime rate in the country is historically low. Stop and frisk is one tool, not the only tool in the law enforcement toolbox in terms of bringing down crime. And it's the way the policy is carried out. If you had investment bankers, lawyers, people in wealthy neighborhoods stopped again and again and again, having people pat them down, treat them inhumanely as criminals, this would not be tolerated. And the fact of the matter is, civil rights, civil liberties coexist with our Constitution and with our need to bring down crime. The fact of the matter is, this is an ineffective and discriminatory tool, and it is not solely and singularly responsible for the reduction in crime in New York City. If you talk to Commissioner Bratton, who was in fact responsible for reforming that policy before he left, he would tell you that is not the sole reason that the crime rate dropped in New York City or elsewhere in the country. And there are, in fact, cities in the country that have not discriminated against their citizens, not criminalized their young people, who brought crime rates down.
Cornell, before you go, let me just ask you, what do you think the answer is to places like Chicago?
We have to do a couple of things. One, we have to bridge that chasm of distrust between the community and policing. We have to bring police unions to the table to help them understand that they have to play a part in reforming these police departments. And we've got to defund police departments that engage in bad behavior.
Well, how come we're not doing it? I mean, the number of murders and killings in Chicago outweighing so many others across the country. How come this is not being done already? I mean, when is it going to be too much in Chicago?
In Chicago, we have a culture of irresponsibility in terms of the police department. It goes back decades. We have an irresponsibility when it comes to the police department in Chicago?
Absolutely. There's been no accountability there. I mean, how can you investigate?
Wait a minute.
Hear the facts.
I don't know that you can blame the police on the murders in Chicago, Cornell.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not blaming the police. But what I am in fact saying is where you have hundreds of millions of dollars in legal settlements, where you have instances of police misconduct investigated without ever talking to the witnesses, where you have a commission that has found that the police department has not participated in the turnaround, if you will, in terms of crime and in terms of police misconduct, we have a problem.
We got to go ahead. Final word, real quick, Ted.
Hey, guys, this is not only about police officers and police departments. There are black-on-black crime, and we need to be able to call that out also. That's a sad commentary in our society.
Thank you.
And that, unfortunately, is going on in Chicago also.
I agree with you. Ted, good to see you. Cornell, thank you so much. Good to see you as well, gentlemen. We'll see you soon.